I'm going to read the Mishnah in Masechet Ketubot, Perek Shishi, Halacha Bet, and I'm going to explain it. I have no chidush. It's just a difficult Mishnah. I'm following the Perush of Rabbeinu Hanan El and Harambam and the Yerushalmi, which is brought in the Meiri. So just keep that in mind, that my explanation is based upon those three commentaries. So here we go, and this is in the Gemara in Masechet Kutubot Daf Samech Vav Amud Aleph. But I'm reading from Perusha Mishnayot of Harambam. First, let's read the Mishnah. Haposek ma'ot lechatano umed. So the father of the bride, he agreed to give us some certain money to his daughter for the wedding, or to his son-in-law, his future son-in-law, and after the kiddushin, the son-in-law died without any children, and he has a brother, and the brother falls before the widow for Yibum, or rather the Mehila. The widow falls before the brother to Yibum, and the father-in-law does not want to give the money that he promised to give to his new potential son-in-law. He doesn't want to give the money to him. Amru Chachamim, Yachol hu she'omar le'achicha hayiti roseh ulcha I afshi liten. So the Chachamim say he doesn't have to give it to him. He wanted to give the money to his earlier son-in-law. That son-in-law died. He doesn't want to give it to the brother. It doesn't matter why. Even if the Gemara says, even if the first husband was a Am Ha'ares, and now this one is a Talmid Chacham. He doesn't want to give him, doesn't have to give him. Interesting. What does it mean? Ulcha I afshi liten. That's a very interesting lashon. I afshi. I would like to understand that one day a little better. Okay, let's continue now. Paska leachnis lo 1,000 dinar. Now, the wife, the bride, brings in a dunya, new Mishnah or new Anyan. The wife has an edunya. She's going to be bringing property with her to the marriage. Now, the proper halacha, even though we don't follow this today, is to write the specific assets that the wife is bringing to the marriage, right? Because it's like a partnership. So you actually have to write the value of the assets that the wife is bringing. You have to write that in the ketubah, so that when the marriage is dissolved, her part of the partnership returns to her. Very interesting, but this is a very modern approach to marriage. So Pascal achnis lo 1,000 dinar. So she, the wife, she agreed to bring 1,000 dinarim. That's a sum certain in cash. That's actual cash. She's bringing $1,000, let's say. So when he writes the sum certain in the ketuvah, you would say, well, you have to write that she brought $1,000 in cash. No, you write 1,500. The reason is because the husband uses the money and he does business with the money. So it's going to be worth 1,500, right? So that's what he writes in the ketubah. כנגד השום הוא פוסק פחות 5. And if, on the other hand, she's not bringing cash, she's bringing personal belongings. So now if she's bringing personal belongings in, there's going to be a shom, there's going to be a valuation. What is the value of those personal belongings? Is going to be, that's the shom. So let's say the value is $1,000. Well, let's say the value, the value is, let's say $1,250. Let's say, hu posek pachot hamish. In that case, when you specify the value in the ketuvah, you're going to specify 1/5 less than the value. So if it's $1,250, that's the valuation of the personal belongings that she brings. You don't put $1,250 in the ketuvah. You put 1/5 less, so it'll be $1,000. Why do you do that? Why would you value the assets at less than their actual value? So it seems from the Yerushalmi that because the woman is going to be using this personal property, and it wouldn't be right to have the man commit to the full value of the personal property because she's using it. So why should he be responsible for the full value? Indeed, there's probably depreciation, right? So posek pachot chamish. But then the Mishnah continues, Shom b'maneh, shaveh maneh, en lo ela maneh. But on the other hand, if they wrote the following words in the ketuvah, these 4 words, Shom b'maneh, shaveh maneh. The valuation is 1,000, and that's the actual value. Meaning, the woman is saying, I have some property here which is not going to depreciate. I want the full value written. She can do that. Shom b'maneh shaveh maneh. Then you write the magic words, Shom b'maneh shaveh maneh. This is my own explanation. I understand that this is talking about property that doesn't depreciate, and the woman doesn't want to put this property in the ketuvah unless he agrees to put the full value, right? So, for example, it could be jewelry. Maybe she has a diamond. Maybe she has some gold. Maybe she has some object that doesn't depreciate. So she says, Shom b'maneh, shaveh maneh. The valuation is 1,000, and it's actually worth 1,000. That's the undepreciated value, and the full value is what I want in the ketuvah. En lo ela maneh. In that case, you put 1,000 in the ketuvah. That's what you write down. The value of that asset is 1,000. And what he gets is actually a personal property worth 1,000. He's not going to get 1,250 as in the previous case. In the previous case, for example, they would have to put 1,250 and he would get 1,000. So in this case, they're going to put 1,000 and he's actually going to receive 1,000 in assets. Shom b'maneh notenet lo 31 v'dinar. But normally. Okay, so these are the rules. So really it's 3 rules. The first rule is, let's read it again. Rule number 1. Paskal lachnis lo 1,000 dinar. That's rule number 1. והוא פוסק כנגדן 15 מנה. Again, if it's cash, if she brings cash, you add to the cash 1/3, which of course is 50%, depending if you're going from the outside as they put it, from the inside as they put it. Okay, that's cash. כנגד השום, if it's personal property, which has a valuation, הוא פוסק פחות 5. In the ketuvah, he values it, he records it as 1/5 less than the valuation. So, for example, if they're going to put 1,000 in the ketuvah, if the number is going to be 1,000 in the ketuvah, she has to bring with her 1,250 in valued assets. Okay, Shom b'maneh. Rule number 3, shaveh maneh. Rule number 3 is an unusual situation where she's bringing undepreciated assets or an asset that will not be depreciated. And she actually writes Shom b'maneh shaveh maneh. And in that case, yes, they put whatever, she brings 1,000 and they record 1,000. En lo ela maneh. And he receives 1,000. So now let's start the application of these rules. Shom b'maneh notenet lo 31 v'dinar. So for example, if they want to record in the ketuvah assets, personal property, which were valued at 1,000, then she has to bring 31 v'dinar. she has to bring 1,250. So money is 1,000 dinarim, 31 selaim. Well, let's say money is 100. I'm sorry, money is 100. 31 times 4. Each sela is 4 dinarim. So 31 times 4 is 124 plus a dinar, 125. So you see, money, which is 100, dinarim is equal to 125. Meaning, if you're going to record valued personal property assessed at 100, she has to bring the value of personal property assessed at 125. Again, because she's going to be using it, so they record less than she brings. 400 notenet 500. If they record personal property which is worth 400, that's what the ketubah is going to say. Notenet 500, then she brings with her personal property assessed at 500. כשהחתן פוסק, הוא פוסק פחות 5. If the Hatan is going to bring some personal property and he's going to record it in the ketuvah, meaning he's bringing it as a gift to his wife, right? So that when the marriage is dissolved, he's entitled to get it back. So in that case, you record 1/5 less. Why do you record 1/5 less in the case of the Hatan? Because in the case of the Hatan, the problem is that they used to overvalue the gift that the husband gives the wife, to bring more dignity. So let's say the Hatan is they say he's bringing $1,000 worth of clothing to his wife. When they write it down in the Ketodah, they actually write 800 because it's not going to be 1,000; it's going to be 800. They overvalued it, right? Again, kesher hatan posek, if the hatan is bringing clothing, let's say personal property, as gifts to his wife, hu posek pachot 5, then they write in the ketuvah 1/5 less than the assessed value. Pascal achniso kesafim selaim. Now we're going to bring an illustration of rule number 1, that if she's bringing to the marriage kesafim selaim, so again, Pascal, where is it? Here it is. Pascal le'achnis lo kesafim selaim, let's say 1 sela, which is worth 4 dinarim, meaning she is bringing actual cash. This is illustration of rule number 1. A sela, for each sela, ne'eset shisha dinarim, they record 6 dinarim, and not 4 dinarim, which is the value of the sela. Again, because the husband is going to be using that money to do business in. Hechatan מקבל עליו 10 דינרים וקופה לכל מנה. This is a final rule. This is a new rule that we didn't study. As long as I read it, I'm going to explain it anyway. החתן מקבל, here it is. החתן מקבל עליו 10 דינרים וקופה לכל מנה. Meaning, for every $100, let's call it $100 of value that the wife brings in the ketuvah, whether it's cash recorded in the ketuvah, whether it's personal property, the husband gives her 10 dinarim for the purchase of a kupa, which is, like makeup and perfume and stuff like that. The bunch of Gamliel says, no, you follow the Minhag Medina. You don't need to have a set sum. Meaning, whatever the local custom is, that's what we follow. And Halabam says, Halacha, Gelaban, Shimon, Gamliel, Bechol Ma Sheniskar.